On this episode, we're talking all things dude self-care.
You're listening to the Dudes and Dads Podcast, a show dedicated to helping men be better dudes and dads by building community through meaningful conversation and storytelling. And now, here are your hosts, Joel DeMont and Andy Lehman.
Welcome back, guys. It feels like it's been forever, but now we're back. It's me, Andy, and your co-host, Joel, who can single-handedly down 1,000 pancakes in a minute.
Wow. I do like a good flapjack. That's true, Andy. Really do. And we are in that season where...
Pancake season?
Pancake season, specifically maple syrup season.
That is true.
We're getting close.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been driving by and seeing all of the syrup.
Yep.
All of the sap, not the syrup. It's not syrup. My family makes fun of the way I say the word syrup. I
Really?
say it's syrup.
Syrup?
Yeah, and they don't like that. They're like, no, it's syrup. It's 2 syllables.
Is it because you're from Illinois? Is that?
I'm actually from Indiana, by the way.
I'm sorry. I was going to say something about you living in Illinois and having an Illinoisan
It's okay.
Illinoisan accent.
You can whatever.
Jackie says I'm going to forget what it is, but there are a few words that I say strange, and she blames it on my Dutchy West Michigan accent.
I believe.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a thing or not. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dudes and Dads Podcast. Every once in a while, Andy and I say, listen, we don't want a guest on this show. We don't want a guest.
You know what we're doing?
What are we doing?
We're doing it. It's just the two of us. Just the two of us.
Yes, that's
we
perfect.
can make
That's
it
true.
if we try.
It's just the two of us. Because every once in a while we have a conversation we just want to have. The two of us. And we just think we're suited.
We're due for one of those.
For a dude chat. Two dudes in a chat talking about
Dude
stuff.
I'm the dude, so that's what you call me.
100%. So Andy, we've gotten to this new year. Here we are. We find ourselves in March. The weather has turned surprisingly nice. Now, as your people are listening to this, maybe by then it's snowing again. I don't know. But here we've gotten. Well, today it was
it was 65 today.
65 degrees and sunny, and it just felt like the spring was it's coming at us.
It is. We're ready to go.
We are ready to go. The other piece is, though, Andy, is that the dreaded time change is coming. I always love
yes.
I love falling back, but springing forward is lousy.
You lose that hour of sleep.
It takes like 3 weeks to readjust, and my children are terrible in the morning after it. Which all the more reason why we're going to talk about the subject we're talking about tonight.
Self-care. So
self-care.
Let's talk a little bit about what is self-care and why is it important. So Joel, it's about rhythms and kind of resetting, right? I mean, so
yes,
we get into this kind of habit of just running real hard.
Nose to the grindstone, as they say, Andy.
We run real hard, and then that will wear you out if you keep doing this
again
pace.
and again, right? The same pace, the same things. You got to mix things up, Andy. You gotta take a
shake it up.
You got to shake it up. You got to take some time out. You got to find a place to rethink think in a new way about things, maybe,
right?
And sometimes just to actually rest, to physically rest, which we've obviously we've had your dad on the show,
right?
And he knows a thing or two about the retreating and the resting, and we just love that conversation. So you can be sure to check that episode out.
We'll link to that in our show notes here
because that was a classic.
Episode.
That's a Dudes and Dads classic, problem,
definitely.
Right there. But I just think it's like as the two of us are talking about what we're thinking about doing this year, in terms of I think weekly practices.
Oh yeah,
for self-care. Monthly, and then yearly, and the yearly stuff that's
major stuff.
It's major stuff. It's major stuff. So, Andy, I'm just wondering on your end of things.
Sure.
When you're thinking about self-care, the things that you and when we're saying self-care, it's the things you do to bring rest, renewal, maybe to refocus, to gain some clarity. on the regular basis, these are the things that are about self-care. So some of that is we're going to talk a lot about retreating and getting away and changing your setup. But I'm just going to be honest with you, Andy. The one thing, given the COVID realities that have been in this last year, the one thing that I really miss about my regular self-care regimen is it's the occasional massage.
Yeah, I have only had a couple massages in my life.
How do you feel about massages, Andy?
I'm okay with them.
Are you pro massage? Would you say you're pro massage?
I'm okay with them.
They creep you out?
They creep me out a little bit. It just kind of depends on who's doing it and like what the vibe is.
You got to have the
place.
right massage therapist.
We've been to the Dominican Center, which is a
you're going to say a nunnery.
A nunnery, and that's not right.
It's a convent, but yes. Years ago we did that, and
that was good.
It was
I
good.
Like that.
It was great. I don't know if any of our listeners have ever received a massage while at a Catholic retreat center, which is also attached to a convent. That's a whole other.
Not a nunnery.
Yeah, not a nunnery. Is nunnery an actual, for any of our Catholic listeners, we say this in all honesty, is nunnery even a word? Are we making that up? I don't even know.
So write back and tell us.
Yeah, tell us, please. Someone who's got a little Roman Catholic know-how.
We need your help.
Yeah.
I did that. I've had one while I was actually retreating at my parents' retreat center. Had one there.
Did they bring somebody in?
They did. I don't know if they still do or not, but they had somebody.
If I do a retreat here, we should find out. We should find out if I call them up right now and be like, listen, I would love to come down to Rest Ministries for a little weekend getaway, refocus, recalibration, but I'm going to need you to bring in the massage therapist.
They might. They used to. I don't know if they still do. And then our friend group, our wives got us one time.
Yeah, so. That's true. That was a different experience.
That was. Yeah.
I don't really want to go into a lot of details about it, but it wasn't bad. It was confusing.
It was.
It was bad.
All right. No. I'm just saying it was.
It was.
It was. That's it.
It was the thing.
All right. So that's yeah.
Yeah. So there are physical components. There are rest components.
How often would you do that before COVID?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I did hit it hard and heavy for a little. It was like every 2 weeks for like
your drug of choice
it was
for a while.
Kind of my drug of choice because I just had a lot of pain, had a lot of stress. Just tended to find its way into my my shoulder and neck regions. So
sure,
to have somebody. And by the way, you got to find that massage therapist that, in my opinion, I'm all about like just hitting it hard. I want to be in a close. We're talking it close to being on the verge of painful.
Sure, it needs to. Yeah,
right. Because you feel better afterwards, but in that moment, you're like, "This is
right."
Yeah. So did things like that. So, but then really, it kind of became a once a month thing, and then
now it's once a year.
Now it's I'm due.
So let's go back here to we started talking about weekly, monthly, yearly things.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about the things that we do per week to kind of do the retreat. I'll go ahead and start.
Please do.
So for me, one of the things that our family has done is kind of set aside Sundays as a day of rest. So
yes, Sabbathing. Can we use that term?
Let's call it Sabbath.
Sabbathing.
But for us, it's even just more than just going to church and resting. Like there is, if there's stuff to do around the house, it gets done Saturday. It does not get done Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It's Sunday is the day that we can feel that we can just rest. We can sit there, not have anything to do. If we want to watch 16 episodes of The Amazing Race, we can.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I don't think we've ever watched 16, but
point taken.
But we can do that.
Gotcha.
At one point we were doing lots of other things where we go to my in-laws' house, and sometimes that's resting and relaxing, sometimes that's not.
Yeah, sure. Depending on
overall.
The day.
I mean, it's harder to sometimes rest when you're not at your own house.
Right.
It's hard to feel like you're getting that reset. at the end of the week, before the week
So,
starts.
Andy, let me ask, though. Let's say you're at the house. Let's just say that I'm just speaking from my own life experience. Let's just say there's the clothes need to be folded, man. They're all over the place.
Saturday.
No matter what, huh?
No, I mean, sometimes, but most of the time we're gonna say no. Like Sundays are those days, and now that's changed a little bit since Julie's doing some stuff at the church. I mean, we're still doing that as our after church, but I mean during the.
So I hear you
beginning.
saying though there's just some strategy. Like
Yeah.
you're just like you are preparing yourself. You're doing what is necessary so that you're putting the work in.
Right. We're trying to get everything done that needs to get done. If it doesn't get done Saturday or before that, we're more likely just to say let's skip it, let's wait, because for us as a family we need that time to just sit and relax. Now sometimes our kids don't completely understand that. They're like, hey, can we go to grandma's? Can we do this? Can we do that? And we have to say, hey, no, this is our time. This is relaxing for us. So,
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm always just curious about I would say I have felt the pressure, without throwing my wife under the bus on any of this, but it's like I have felt the pressure of like those off days feel like they can be days that are like really productive with things, like I'm not working at my job today, so this is a great day to do XYZ. What's wrong with me, Andy? Why is that
I think,
a problem?
I think it kind of depends on how it goes. So for us, it's what kind of gives you life on those days. So for us, it may be me going out and mowing the lawn. If that's something that's going to be relaxing for me.
I feel like by the way, when that is an example, I feel like I think we've gotten some traction on this, that lawn mowing is one of the most restful things that I can do.
It can be.
Yeah.
But so for us, it's those times that we can do something that's going to bring us joy. So again, if that means sitting and doing a puzzle, for Julie that brings her joy. For me, that brings me frustration. So I don't do that.
I avoid the puzzles.
Yeah, I don't touch the puzzles. But for us, it's those things, and that's a day that we set that aside to do, because that's kind of brings us in. May have had a long week ahead of time. Saturday again is usually hitting it hard. We're usually either going somewhere, doing something because we have a birthday party to go to or whatever.
Yep.
But for us, once we reset, Sundays every day we reset. We have that day before we get into the hard stuff again.
Right.
So, and it's not always the whole day. Like sometimes in the evening, Julie will have to plan school for the kids ahead of time. But
what coming into I've always heard people talk about, obviously, having the bad case of the Mondays, like when they start that week back out.
Sure.
Is your Monday better with a good Sabbath?
Oh yeah, it definitely is, because you don't feel like you're just running, because there's that time between Monday through Friday and then Saturday, because Monday through Friday look the same a lot of times. We've got work, we've got school, we've got whatever we got going on. But then, Saturday is usually a day of work for us, or, we're going to someone's birthday party, like I said. So there's that day of kind of a space. So for Mondays are different. I mean, yes, it's getting back into that routine, and it's getting back into work or school or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's been that time where we're not just backed right up against something else that's been really hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the worst feelings that I can have is expecting to have a low-key Sunday, and that low-key Sunday turns out to not be a low-key Sunday.
Yeah.
And then I have a very not low-key Monday. And there's a frustration that really comes. Like, I know in my own mind when and this has been one of my biggest challenges, quite honestly, is my days frequently I can plan a day of rest and retreat, and something inevitably goes wrong.
Sure.
That tries to
steal that.
Right. From me. And I think now part of it is is I think the farther you plan out,
Mm-hmm.
and the more you really protect that time and get into a rhythm of that,
Right. And
makes it easier.
And I think that's one thing that our family has done really good. Julie and I have both said Sunday is our day.
Yep.
Sunday is the day that we're gonna lay down and take a nap, and we're not gonna feel bad about it.
That's
we're gonna
right.
work on that puzzle, and she can do that because I
Right.
would feel bad if I did it.
Yes. Right.
But
yeah.
so we both said that this is a protected day, and we try to protect that as much as possible. Again, not always 100% of the time it happens. But we try.
Would you have people over on Sunday?
Yes, because it's one of the things that we value in our friendship.
Right.
And I think we have before. I think you've been over to our house.
I'm just well, actually, it's funny because I'm like, when is the last time I was over to their house on a Sunday? But yes, I think so.
And I mean, because again, that's a little bit different. We're not necessarily doing things that are working type things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think to your point, it's like for me, so much of what does bring me joy and what does bring restoration to me is my relationships with my friends, the people. So that I think that's appropriate. I think the best thing is that if you can have, like, for instance, on your guys' Sunday issues, if you can have a Sunday where all you're doing is having people over and you don't have to do a bunch of other things to make that happen, then that's really great.
Or even if we do the work to make that happen, like on a Saturday,
Yep.
if we say like, hey guys, we need to get in, we need to clean the house, we need to make this look good,
right,
so that we can have our friends over tomorrow.
Right.
Like that's where I think we separate that, too.
Yep. So, again, and regardless of whether or not, we're using the term Sabbathing, which is more of an ancient Hebrew, idea.
But it's kind of the idea of resetting once a week or every 7 days to kind of
6 and 1,
rest.
6 and 1, 6 and 1.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a having that rhythm is a good thing to do. No, and again, we're talking about it in terms of it being like a religious spiritual reality that is also,
but I think,
helpful. But in general,
that's I think the way that our bodies are designed to have that kind of reset every so often. Now, let me ask you this, Joel, as a pastor who is on the job on Sunday, how does that look for you? What do you do differently to make sure that you get that day? Now, does that mean that if your Mondays or your Tuesdays are your Sabbath, does that look different because Jackie's at work and the kids are at school, or how does that work for you?
So the goal has been, and we're working toward this even all regularly, is that my day off is Friday, and I'm saying this with absolutely, I think there's a tension because my day, like Friday is a work day, a school day, everything else for everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So I'm off. The easy thing to talk about is, again, what can I get done on that day? That because I have that free time when everybody else is away.
Does that stuff bring you life, though? I'm like, even if it's no, you're shaking your head.
No, I mean, like when I was getting like my regular massages, or anything like that was usually done on Fridays. I would schedule, or if it was like, hey, I'm gonna get coffee with a good friend that's gonna pour into me and it's gonna be whatever.
You've got that scheduled out.
I was gonna do those sort of things on Fridays. And I'm trying to. I mean, I need to get back into that more. But I just think, it doesn't matter what day it is, but you need to have, because for me, like Sunday is a work day, and Saturday is going to be a family work day more than likely. I mean, to speak to what you were saying, it's like it's time we're all together and we can get some things done. But I don't know. I just think you need to have your day. You need to find out what it's going to be. And by the way, you might have to make some sacrifices to make that day happen. But in the longer run, it is 110% worth it.
Right. So, okay, let's move on a little bit to the monthly resetting and monthly self-care. What are some things that we can do as dudes to do monthly self-care?
Well, You can get on a fishing boat, number one. Get out there, get out in nature. I think the one example, like as we talked about, is doing a monthly silence and solitude retreat.
Okay, so let's dig into that a little more. What exactly does that mean?
Well, Andy, it's really, I mean, and here's the thing. You got to find, I was fortunate enough, and I had great intentions of being more regular thing, and it hasn't been, but I think I'm going to re-engage on it. Had a relationship with a camp that is nearby here, who has just been very open to say, we would love to provide a space for you on a Saturday or whatever, a day where you can just come and we won't bother you. You know, we'll even give you a room somewhere, but you can walk the grounds. No one will talk to you. It can kind of be this time away. But the whole idea is that you are alone with your own thoughts for a decent amount of time, and you're also disconnected from technology. I think is the best way to do that, because you're not engaging with you're not engaged. The whole idea is to be in touch with your own thoughts,
right,
and not be in touch with the thoughts of other people. And this is I think, and I've got a little something to read here on this too, but like the thing about silence and solitude, what it brings to your mind and what you become aware of is that usually most of the things that we're thinking are the first things that we're thinking during our days are not our own thoughts.
Right. I know for me, the very first thing, I'm up, usually I sit down on the couch, I blurry-eyed scroll through Facebook or Instagram.
We're all there. Yes.
And then I try to respond to somebody and later read it, and it's not what I meant to put. But
yeah, and I think of several years ago, and I've even pulled this up. This is it's an older article, but it's entitled "Solitude and Leadership." So basically, this author, who is an author and teacher at an Ivy League school, addressed what did he address? It was a freshman class at West Point Military Academy, and seems odd that you'd be talking to West Point military about solitude and basically how it informs leadership and things like this. Down farther in the article, though, he talks about coming to terms with your own thoughts, like putting yourself in a place where you can hear your own thoughts. And he says, thinking for yourself means finding yourself, finding your own reality. And then he mentions the whole technology piece. Here's the other problem with Facebook and Twitter and even the New York Times. When you expose yourself to those things, especially in the constant way that people do now, older people as well as younger people, you are continuously bombarding yourself with a stream of other people's thoughts. You are marinating yourself in the conventional in the conventional wisdom. In other people's reality, for others, not only yourself. You are creating a cacophony in which it is impossible to hear your own voice, whether it's yourself, you're thinking about, or anything else. That's what Emerson meant when he said that, quote, "He who should inspire and lead his race must be defended from traveling with the souls of other men, from living, breathing, reading, and writing in the daily time-worn yoke of their opinions." Ooh, boy. Think on that one for a little bit.
Yeah.
It says, notice that he uses the word lead. Leadership means, he's talking about leadership here, means finding a new direction, not simply putting yourself at the front of the herd that's heading toward the cliff. Part of our leadership crisis, and this is leading our home, leading our own lives, leading our homes, leading maybe our places of business, whatever, is that we haven't actually come to terms with our own voice, our own thoughts, what we really think. And the best place to do all of that, Andy, I honestly think, is to get away, to shut off all the other inputs, and to actually think our own thoughts. Now, because I really, really mean this, most of the stuff that we think about is not our own thoughts.
Yeah.
It's what other people have said. We're reflecting maybe on what other people have said,
but they're not our own.
It's not our own. And so when we get to the place where we can actually own what we think about things, then we can lead
Sure.
and live life in a more authentic way. So we when we talk about sort of monthly practices, just taking a day to go and do that. I'm not trying to be super overly whatever mystical or spiritual about this, but it's like when you actually start to hear your own voice, you are confronted with a lot of things, both good and bad, but you're at least able to say either I haven't thought about this thing in my life to the degree in which I have. Because how many times in the day on a busy day do you will something enter your mind
and
you
it's
go
gone.
and you
Yeah.
right and it's gone, or you're like I'll get to that later, and then later never
Right.
happens. So this ability to take your own thoughts captive, to hear your own voice, to find solitude in that. I believe in it. I think it's a good thing. Do I practice it well? Especially over this last year, have I practiced it well? No, because partly I've not been
Right.
able to go anywhere or get away
Okay,
from
so
my people.
I'm challenging you.
Oh, here
you,
it comes.
You have a gift card
Oh my gosh.
for
Andy.
Rest Ministries.
Yeah, here it comes. Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm challenging you
Yep.
this week, Joel. Call
It's gonna
my
happen.
parents. Call
Gonna-
Rest Ministries.
We're gonna call
and set
Rest
it up.
Ministries and make my retreat.
Because
And-
everything that you said
yes,
can be found there.
100%.
I encourage you to do that this week.
Okay. All right. The gauntlet has been laid down. And I know that Andy will also be on the various social media platforms, just reminding
Calling
me
you
as
out.
well, calling me out. So it's
I will.
gotta happen. And I should say, which Jackie did mention to me that if I do go, that she would like to come along. So
Sure.
we'll make those arrangements. The question will be is if Jackie will be okay with me being by myself for a time while we're down there together. But
Well, and I think for me, the things that I do yearly, I'm trying to build into my life for yearly, are self-care, but also relationship care with my wife.
yes.
So a lot of times what we've been trying to do is get away for an extended period of time during the year at some point, whether it's a couple days or a week, and just spend time, the two of us. And that's really, for me,
Yep.
been really helpful because it's not only allowed me to work on myself. I mean, as far as like I don't know how to say that. I guess it allowed to have that time where we're getting, where I'm getting to go to Florida or wherever we're going.
Right.
But then also spend that time with my wife, which rejuvenates like our relationship. So for me, that's one of the things that I try to do yearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we easily, well, when it comes to yearly stuff, we think about vacations and things like that. In our stage of life, where it's like a vacation means hauling 4 other kids along with
Mhm.
us and having to really schedule things and do all this planning sort of stuff.
It's
and all of
fun,
that.
but it's a lot of work.
Right. And it's I would say a vacation is different than a vacation kind of feels like an investment more than it does self-care sometimes.
Right.
I don't know what you think about this, Andy. I have told Jackie recently, I said there are 2 kinds in this season of life that we're in with our families. There are 2 different kinds of vacations. There's one for me and there's one for
Yeah.
my family.
Yeah.
And it's okay to just acknowledge that that's a reality.
Well, and I think too, that's kind of what I'm saying about the yearly thing with going away with Julie, because for us that looks a lot different. That's getting up late, kind of whenever we want to. Like, hey, if we want to, go hike this trail, or we want to sit on the beach, or we want to do this, and that's fine. Whereas with the family, it's more of a planned out.
Yep.
This is what we're doing. I mean, we try to build in some scheduled time.
Yeah.
But in there when it's with the family, but we try to allow more. It is a little bit more scheduled. Whereas the time with Julie and I is more of a kind of go with the flow. Wake up whenever, go get a cup of coffee whenever,
Right.
like that type of thing.
We had Andy. We've made our final plans, and we're for our spring break vacation or whatever. But I was so proud of my wife because she did initially throw out this idea of the first option where we were thinking about going back to the Smokies, which we all
yeah.
love
Great.
that area. We spent that time. We began to realize that like a lot of the places, like it was heavily rented out, and we were beginning to come into this concern that all the places that we would want to go were just going to be filled with a ton of people all the time. So we got an alternate location, farther drive, but we're going to be okay. But before we came to that conclusion, Jackie threw out the idea of let's just get in the car
And drive.
And I was strangely there was something about that was interesting to me.
Well, I think it goes back to the just kind of seeing what happens and letting it happen. Like now, with kids, that makes that really hard.
That's right.
Because there's some structure that needs to
Where
happen.
are we going? We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right.
But for the two of you, that would work great. Where you just say, hey, we're just going to go and we're going to find out where we go to.
I'm wondering if any of our listeners, this would be a good feedback piece.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if any of our listeners have ever just, maybe it's a weekend, maybe it's a full week, whatever, have just gotten in the car and said, okay, we're packing up and we're just going to go somewhere, and we don't know where. It's not planned. We're just going to drive.
We're just going to find it. Yeah.
Or they had some sort of exercise that they did or some method or whatever to like just go in a random direction.
All right. So if you've done that, we want to hear from you. So give us our voicemail line a call. It's 574-213-8702. Again, that's 574-213-8702. That number can be found on our website, dudesanddadspodcast.com, or you can take out your voice memo note on your phone and record that and then email it to feedback@dudesanddadspodcast.com.
Can I tell you about a voice memo that I just found last night?
Sure, go for it.
On my phone. Okay, so I realized I'm looking through my voice memo thing because I was like thinking about using it for something, and I'm like, man, there are.
You were gonna send feedback to the Dudes and Dads podcast.
That's exactly what I was going to do. I was going to send feedback to my own show, and I was going to disguise my voice, obviously, and pose as a completely different person.
Right? Yeah,
it makes sense. There's all these voice memos. I'm like, where did these come from? And then a lot of them were old, like nothing recent. A lot of them were old. So I clicked on the first one. It was 2.5 minutes long, and it was a voice memo. Aaron, my eldest, had gotten the phone, was recording himself singing something. He was clearly in the car.
Okay.
And then a fight breaks out between him and another one of his siblings. I can't be sure which one. And so it's 2.5 minutes of rustling noises, screaming, an occasional "I can't breathe." And this was like back in June that this happened or whatever. And I'm like, I didn't even know what to say. So long story short, I deleted all my voice memos so that I'm free and clear now, and I've got room for more.
When you have feedback for the show.
That's right. When I have feedback for the show. So yes, voice memos are great, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm thinking about.
So I would jump ahead. I mean,
yes,
because I had mentioned about let's talk about the monthly things, and then we ended up talking about yearly things.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, so, but I think if you look at a calendar and say and think about a calendar in that way, what are weekly things? What are monthly things? What are the big yearly things? Several years ago we touched on it briefly. Several years ago, four of us dudes went on a dude treat, we went on a retreat.
Something.
The four of us dudes. I haven't come up with a funny name for that yet. To the Dominican Center up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and it was a really excellent experience because that retreat center is it's kind of nestled in the city, so to speak. But we would do dinner. We'd do dinner out in the evenings and had it was just such a focus time during the day of things that we're doing, silence time for all of us, doing some reading, doing some rest. I mean, there was part of the days where it's like, we each had a room, and so it's like I'm going to lay down and take a nap for a couple of hours, and that's going to be good too.
And then we just did a lot of planning and a lot of just kind of self-evaluation, and it was really good.
It was really, really good. But what I appreciated over that time is I just began to realize like how when I wasn't worried about anything else other than what was right in front of me, just how present we could be with each other in the moment on things, and how much we could just enjoy the things
Sure.
that were right in front of us. We had some fantastic dinners that I don't. It's like the food tasted better because we were
With
just
friends.
with friends and focused on what we were doing. So I just think it's like there's all kinds of guides and helps to do these sort of things, and we can. In fact, we might actually put some. Put some resources up on the site in the show notes. Things that are helpful to guide in those things. But if you're doing long retreats, like getting yourself, like a lot of retreat centers offer spiritual direction, like a spiritual director, which can be really great. And if you are not familiar with spiritual direction, it's you can just Google it, but it's really a person who is offering, it's just helping you hear from God, kind of have a spiritual awareness about things as a conversation partner and with you who's not they're not an advice giver or anything like that.
No, they're just more of like a guide, if you will.
Right. Which it's just good to have. Sometimes good to have a guide with you. Like we mentioned, disconnecting from technology and doing that. I got to be honest with you. I think at this stage, I am really due for something like that, for a real disconnect, because I just yes, thank you. Stress, subliminal. Yeah. Well, because today, like this morning, I'm trying to get out of the house and can't find my cell phone. I don't even know how I set it down where I did or whatever, but like I was quite upset about all of that. And quite honestly, I could have I knew what my schedule was for the day and everything. I could have gotten by just fine without my phone.
But it upset you more than it should have.
Yeah,
is what you're
like
saying.
it's really.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so. Yeah, and it's always funny because I'm like, the irony here is that the reason I was upset is that I was in a hurry to get out the door so I could make a meeting on time, and that meeting was about talking about our staff retreat that we're doing tomorrow. So I was the whole kind of full circle there. So and then, but again, I mean, there's also the physical rest thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes the most spiritual thing we can do is to take a nap, Andy.
Yes, agreed.
Oh my gosh.
It allows you to rest and rejuvenate. I mean, we seem to, as Americans, run our bodies so ragged, so dry. We're doing, boom, 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 and
then we die of a heart attack.
Right. We just need some rest, like physical rest. We really need it.
Yeah.
So I think one of the most important things about this whole, talk about dude self-care is to get your spouse on board. If you have a spouse or girlfriend or whoever, get them on board with this, because it'll go a long way. If they can see that, you spending a week alone or, 3 days alone or with your buddies or whatever brings you to a better place, they're more likely to be like, yes, go do this, because you are a better human being when you come back than when you left. And so I think that's one of the most important things, is to get them on board. If they're not on board already, I would say have a sit down with them and say, hey, look, let's give this a try.
Yep.
I'm just going to be gone a day, or something like that, and just see how this works.
And maybe even the first step can be do a couples retreat, do time away together. And, I think it's one of those things that you have to, is a discipline. You have to experience it. You have to work your way into it. And like, don't go, like when it comes to, for instance, like a solitude day, silence and solitude day, maybe start with like half a day.
Yeah.
Like, if you go, some of these things will feel really funky and really clunky and kind of very awkward. I mean, I don't know when the last time is that, any of you who are listening right now, like, went to a place where you didn't talk to anybody for a full day and did not have any
Other interactions, with other human
interactions,
beings.
whatever. Like, that can be a challenge. So, baby steps. Start simple. Maybe start together. Maybe just have a friend that you do a podcast show with that holds your feet to the fire to
meet and hang out,
or to go to his parents' retreat center,
yes.
Whatever the case might. I'm just hypothetically, but yes,
this week, Joel. This week,
do it. It's going to happen. Yeah. So, most of this conversation is just quite simply weekly rhythms, monthly rhythms, yearly rhythms, and think about what you can do, and consult some resources and get it done. Because, guys, here's the deal: we're not taking the numbers are in. We're not taking great care of ourselves.
No,
we're stressed out to the max. We try to convince ourselves that we're not stressed out. The degree to which we men have high blood pressure and all these signs of just chronic stress and all that. It's not good.
No.
And there's some simple things that we could do to help move the dial on that. So
right, get out there,
do it.
Some self-care.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joel, before we wrap up this episode, first off, I want to apologize. We are a little bit late with this one. It should have been out.
No, it's all my fault.
No. But whatever. We were supposed to be out like Tuesday. We could go Tuesday, and then we was like, let's do Thursday, and then it just didn't work out because we had other things that we were doing. But
there's things,
we
value this enough
right.
that we're like, we're going to get it in as soon as we can.
Right. So you look for 2 episodes. You'll have this one on Tuesday, and then a week later you'll have another one. So
wow.
We're doing bang, bang.
Bang, bang.
But, Joel, I wanted to bring something up first. So I don't know if you've seen our setup here. If not, we'll post a picture somewhere. But it kind of looks like a spaceship.
Yes, it does.
So I have got a computer, I got a mixing board, I got an iPad. But I think that we need one more thing in this mix.
One more thing.
So what we're looking to get, and we're asking if you guys can help us out with this one, it'd be greatly appreciated. So I'm doing like 100 different things when we're doing this podcast, right? I'm talking, I'm mixing the audio, I'm mixing video. Well, one of the things that I feel like would improve this show, right, Joel?
Yes, it would improve. And just to be clear, he's doing all these things because I would be terrible at them. and the multitasking that's going on, guys, and I just have to be very clear, particularly like. Even when it's just the two of us, it's enough. But then when you add in the guest, it's a whole other thing too. Andy is doing a lot of with the components that he has pieced together. He's doing a lot of things during the show, and we feel like there's a step that we could take to make things simpler. Is that right, Andy?
Yes, that's correct. So there's a device that is called the Stream Deck, which allows you to have 15 like physical buttons on it.
Yeah,
and program it to switch sources and stuff, because we also do video for this show if you're not aware of it, for YouTube.
That's right.
And so really right now what I'm doing every time I switch is I have to move my mouse. I have to look at my computer, move my mouse, scroll over to the right thing, hit it. Hopefully I hit the right thing.
And for the longest time, I just thought Andy was becoming disinterested in me during the show.
No. I'm trying to switch video
he's
to
doing
make it work.
video. So in fact, it was a massive misunderstanding, and I'm glad we got that ironed out.
So anyways, this device costs about $150, $160. And so if you would like to help us out with this, we would really greatly appreciate it. You can see what we're going to buy. You can go to PayPal to donate it, all at dudesanddadspodcast.com/spaceship. I'm going to go spaceship.
Nice touch.
So Dudes and Dads Podcast.
Help the spaceship, y'all.
.com/spaceship. We'll show you what we're looking to buy, and it will have a PayPal link on there if you'd like to help out. We would greatly appreciate it. No, we don't expect that because we do this show for you guys, but if you got value from this and you want to help us out, we'd love to have
and we know that so many of you have been so generous before with other components of our technology here. So we just, on occasion, we just reach out as we're stepping up our game incrementally here at the show and trying to make it the best experience for everybody possible. And, on this one, it's like it is going to improve the quality of the show. And Andy will maybe delay the carpal tunnel surgery by a couple of years. So just so much typing and going back and forth. So we do just want to say, if you just consider giving to that, you can find it over there at the website.
Great. Well, Joel, it's been a great episode. I really appreciated the talk about dude self-care because it's something that we all need.
We need it.
We need it. There, I actually hit the wrong scene right there.
Oh.
Yeah, so oops. Anyways, if you have any feedback about this episode, we would love to hear you. Give us a call on our voicemail line. We love hearing you in person. So 574-213-8702 or your voice memo app at Dudes and Dads, feedback at dudesandadspodcast.com.
That sounds right. Dudes and Dads Podcast at gmail.com. Another great way to get a hold of us. And as always, there's good show notes over at Dudes and Dads Podcast.com. So, guys, thanks again for tuning in. And until next time,
grace
and peace.